guys is that we heard that the regulation favors larger companies, they favor banks, and also historically, payments and banking is very sticky. All of us, we still use coins. Coins were made in 5 BC. We use paper notes, which were made in the year 600 by the Tang dynasty. There's not a single payment method which has been disrupted. The credit cards made in 1945, they still look the same way in every country. We still have emboss in the credit card because in the older days, we used to put a paper on top of it to take an imprint of the card. So payments generally, there's not a single example of a payment type which has been disrupted. So I suppose all of that helps you. But with that, I'll start with the first question. Is innovation really important for you guys, especially the two bankers, or is it still a marketing play?
So before I say anything, I just want to put a caveat out there that whatever I say, can anyone hear me? Can everyone hear me?
I suppose they can.
So, anything I say today, you cannot use that to hold my employer accountable. And with that, I'll take my banker's hat off and say that yes, innovation is absolutely important. And doesn't matter which industry you're part of, doesn't matter what you're doing in life, if you don't innovate, you become irrelevant. You may not become obsolete, but irrelevance, I think, is worse than obsolescence, because you're still around to see how unimportant you are. With obsolescence, others just remember you for. So, with that said, within banking, yes, we live and breathe in a very highly regulated environment. We tend to blame everything that we don't do on the regulator, not realizing the regulator is open. And I don't mean to speak for the regulators, but what I do want to say is that regulators open for ideas. They're not market leaders. They're not going to.
No, but in the meanwhile, I can jump to Smart for the same question and I'll come back to you. Is innovation important for you, as a banker?
So, of course, it's extremely important, and the reason why everywhere banks are worried and are spending a lot of time and money on innovating is because they realize that they're running a very inefficient ship, right? And in this new world, wherever there is inefficiencies, there's serious disruption. So if you look at the hotel industry, Airbnb has disrupted big time. Taxis were a nightmare for everybody in the world, right? And now things are improved manyfold. So when you see an industry which is lucrative and it's extremely inefficient, there is a very heavy chance of it being disrupted. So it's extremely important for banks to be innovative. But unfortunately, the structure of banks is such that it's very difficult for innovation to come from within. This industry is ripe for disruption, and it will be disrupted. There is no question about it. I mean, in this country, if you're just providing your services to 16 to 20% of your population, after 70 years of being in existence, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just not going to work anymore because there is a way out of this. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a long tunnel, but we can see the light. And it's just a matter of time. And again, somebody 2020, 2021, 2022, it's just 3-4 years, right?
But that's dangerous for you, right? Like you have said that, so you said that you think that the banking sector can be disrupted. Now you represent a large bank, or you go for your employer with a large bank. Do you think there's a risk of disruption for a bank of the size of yours? And then I'll come to you because that will be important for you, because if there is a risk of disruption,
but I just wanted to make a point about the importance of technology or perhaps in the Fintech landscape. What I would say is that we are at the cusp of two different generations at the moment. The first one was the industrial generation that started about a century ago. We're still part of that generation, but the overall revolution is not there. The revolution is all over. It's now at a mature stage, and we are now transiting from one generation to the other. And this one is what I would like to call the knowledge generation or the information generation, which of course stems from the robust advent of technology in the last 10 to 20 years or so. So of course, considering the rapid change in the landscape, the rapid change in the way things are being done, in the way the industry has progressed, of course, I would like to say that there is indeed a very important case in favor of how technology is important for the industry. And for the regulator's perspective, of course, the regulator has to be one step ahead, or at least proactive indeed. As you just mentioned, that it doesn't really come from the regulator. The changes in the regulations come only after the product is there. Otherwise, we are not totally, or perhaps we are somewhat, I would like to say that we're somewhat oblivious of the changes that the market is, the changes that are taking place in the market. But once the products are at a mature stage, then of course there's a need to devise regulations and befitting or enabling regulations to come up slowly and gradually.
Absolutely. So the regulator needs to be behind the curve to allow the innovation to first happen. But I have a specific question, which is, do you think innovation will come from banks?
Not as they're structured today, right? So I would say that banks have to look inward, and they have to really go through an introspection exercise where they feel they need to address the impediments to innovation. And the challenge that I have, I run a skunk works within a large organization, and the challenge that I get is my team spends a lot of time coming up with ideas after evaluating what different business owners are doing. And when we go to the business owner and say that, look, if you do this in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, this is going to make you money. And they look at me and it's like, you're stupid, because I'm making money now and I don't need to do anything. Because they don't see the forest for the trees. What they're seeing is that if they're able to continue doing what they're doing, the group head or the business owner at the top is going to get their next quarterly bonus or their annual bonus. But what they don't realize is that if banks continue doing what they're doing, in five years' time, their revenue is going to erode completely. And there was a study put out, I don't know, it was one of the big consulting firms, where they said that if an efficient bank continues to work the way it's working today, 18% revenue erosion is going to occur year on year. So that gives a good bank 5 years. If it's an efficient bank, conservative estimate is about 37%. So that gives a bank 2.5 years. So not realizing that you're on a sinking ship is preventing the bankers from innovating. And that is why banks need non-bankers to come in. Banks need technology people to come in. Banks need entrepreneurs to come in. And a failed entrepreneur at a tech business would be successful in a bank because they'd be able to come and see those failures and build for provisions against those failures. So as the banks are structured today, they will not innovate. Banks would have to become flatter, leaner, lateral organizations, would have to think like tech companies, would have to be more agile in their responses to the market to be able to innovate.
So in your role, how are you solving this? How are you making sure that the organization becomes more innovative and deals with that problem, the structural problem of incentive misalignment?
So I do two things. I hire non-bankers on my team who then become evangelists for hiring non-bankers in other teams. A case in point is that one of the business owners called me 2 days ago on Friday and said, look, I need somebody who thinks like a tech person, because I feel that the innovation that you did for us on this small piece really works, and now we want to do it on a bigger scale. So the evangelism has to come from within the bank. A consultant will not do it. It's not a magic bullet. It takes a long time to change the culture. I joined my organization 2.5 years ago, and now there's a conversation happening around digital in every meeting. How do we become more digital? How do we become less like a bank and more like a tech company? 2 years ago, my team was thought of as a hobby that existed in one floor of my organization's head office. But now it's part of the culture. So the culture changes over a period of time, and culture change has to be driven by people who are not frogs boiling with the water, like my friend Faisal said, who are from the outside and can understand how quickly the temperature is rising.
So your suggestion is internal evangelism by people who come from outside but are within the organization who can then drive it externally. But Usman, I think your bank and you especially, one of the case studies which I see of yours is the fantasy cricket game. So it seems as if besides this internal evangelism, you're also partnering with external innovators to enable them to lead to some change. What's your view on this, like on innovation within changing and bringing innovation within your banking organization?
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned the Fantasy League app. It was a fantastic experiment. And the reason why I call it a fantastic experiment is because the thought process behind it was interesting. So when we were trying to figure out that we had recently installed a new digital team, and there's a secret source to that, we'll get to that if we have some time. But we had installed a new digital team, and we were brainstorming really heavily of what should be the first thing that this digital team throws out in the market. And what we realized was that if we go with the best payment app in the world which solves all problems, all payment related problems, it's just not going to get traction in Pakistan, not yet. There are huge issues, and I think the first panel touched upon a few of them. So we need to approach payment in a roundabout way in this country, and the roundabout way is entertainment, okay? Because this is what we love, and we have a lot of time for it. So cricket is something that is played by everyone, or watched by everyone, be it a 8-year-old kid or 80-year-old person. And so we came up with this idea in which you have a fantasy league app developed by an external third party, and we went from zero to launch in like 32 days because of our open API mindset and our APIs. And we ended up opening close to we had a 350,000 downloads, and we ended up opening close to 100,000 wallets in 30 days of the PSL. Right. So
and how was the experience of working with external providers and like doing something which was outside of banking?
Yeah. So the experience was, amazing, right? And I think the agility that the Open API platform allowed us to have is what the secret of this thing was, that we went from just nothing to having a product launch in the market with everything sorted, which is marketing and compliance and audits and everything sorted within 30 days. But as I said, 100,000 new to JS customers opened a wallet. And it was a remote wallet opening setup in which we had another fintech provide us a biometric solution. So this is an ingenious solution in which you take a picture of your finger. You actually don't put a finger on a biometric reader on your phone. You actually take a picture of your finger. That picture is sent live to Nadra, and Nadra verifies that within like 5 seconds. And it worked fantastically well because Pakistanis living in Canada were opening wallets and asking their brothers to deposit money here, right? So I think we need to come up with use cases, and I think just going out in the market and just saying, oh, here's another way to pay, is not the way to do it.
So absolutely. So the lifestyle, it has to fit in the lifestyle, because maybe within payment geeks, we might be excited about if we can pay faster with a phone versus with cash, but a common person doesn't really care. He just wants to pay regardless of what form factor it is. And he just wants it to be ubiquitous so that it can work everywhere. Now, one of the themes of this panel was supposed to be asked to map the current state of fintech within the banking sector. So with that, The first question that I'll start with you, Tayyib, is can you give me the 3 priority areas for your organization in terms of digitalization and fintech? And then we'll run through, and with Dishant, would love to hear your views in terms of what your organization, how is that looking at fintech?
Yeah. So for us, the most important thing is process, right? So banks are very process oriented, and those processes are created. Some of those processes were created when the bank was created. Being able to automate a process. So it's very easy for me to create an app today, and it'll still be just as inefficient as the bank because the back-end process is inefficient. So our biggest priority is process. We want to rely on artificial intelligence. We want to rely on, I don't want to throw terms out there, but RPA, which is robotic process automation. We want to rely on straight-through processing to be able to process faster. And we're looking for partners in that. We're partnering with big tech firms and we're partnering with startups. In fact, one of our key startups in the onboarding process is a Pakistani startup that started 2 years ago, won our innovation challenge, and is now automating our paperwork. The other key area for us is data. We want to become a data-driven, data-focused organization. Anyone, any fintech out there or any startup out there that can help us understand, analyze, and interpret data better has a place to partner with us. And the third most important aspect for us in terms of digitization is creating a marketplace of services. And that is why we have opened an API. We have ventured in with one in the market, but now we're working on others. And we want others, because we are risk averse by culture, we want startups and fintechs to use our services, our core services, to build products for new markets. They could be new products, or they could be reinventing existing products. But we can't do that, and we don't want to. I don't think we are ready as an organization to be that risk forward, if you will.
So processes, data, and marketplace for services. Dishant, maybe you could tell us about your organization and how you are looking at it.
Being in the shoes of the regulator, it would not be very, I would not ideally want to pick up a particular product, to be honest. But like I just said, it all depends on what the industry throws up at us. It depends on how the products keep on evolving.
But is fintech something which you are looking at?
Yes, we are looking at quite a few of the initiatives, but like you said, if I have to pick up a favorite, then there's no favorite. But we have a separate working group within the commission in which we have taken up quite a few of the people from the market, a few of the technological experts as well, a few people from the nano credit sector as well. So nano credit probably and the crowdfunding regulations, these are the two big things we are working on at the moment. And we are keen to work on other products as well. And it all depends on how and when we receive an input from the market on these initiatives that we already have and any other products that are in the pipeline and would be thrown up at us. And it depends on what sort of supervision it requires.
And in the earlier panel, there was a point raised about education of the regulator and education by the regulator.
We have a dedicated wing. It's called Jama Punji.
Yes.
You would be aware of that, and the training department is looking after that.
Is the mic not working?
Hello.
It's working.
So the training department housed within SECP is looking after that initiative, and we have circulated about more than 50,000 brochures across Pakistan.